The Winter War by Priscilla Shirer and Gina Detweiler, Chapter 20, Visiting. The kids filed into the living room, tiptoeing as if they were afraid to make any noise. Ivy held a bouquet of wilted flowers. Brianna had a basket of her grandmother's homemade cinnamon rolls and a large card that she had made herself. Evan held a mac and cheese casserole his mom had made. Xavier couldn't carry anything because he was on crutches. Manuel had a book he had wrapped in the comics page of the newspaper. They gathered around Mr. J.R., smiling brightly and loading his lap and the coffee table with their gifts. "What is all this?" said Mr. J.R., putting the recliner in its upright position. "You shouldn't have." "Sorry about the flowers," said Ivy. "They didn't do so well in the cold." "Still cold out there, huh?" "Freezing." "Why don't I put them in water? See if I can resuscitate them," said Levi's mom with a grin. "And I'll take that too, Evan." "It's mac and cheese," Evan said, handing her the casserole. "I made it myself. Well, Mom helped a little." "That is so sweet of you, Evan." Dr. Arthur took the flowers and the casserole into the kitchen. "Netta Lily made these just for you," Brianna said to Mr. J.R., pointing to the basket of cinnamon rolls. "She knows they're your favorite." "Oh, yes, they are," said Mr. J.R., smiling a little weakly. "I could smell them before you even stepped into the house." He opened Brianna's card. Inside was a picture she had drawn of Mr. J.R. in his Prince Warrior armor, standing on top of the mountain with his sword lifted high. "Not bad at all," said Mr. J.R. with a little chuckle. He unwrapped the book Manuel had given him, Venus flytraps and other meat-eating plants. "I couldn't get to the store, so I just had this one in my room," Manuel confessed. "But you'll like it. It's really fascinating." "I'm already fascinated," said Mr. J.R., flipping through the pages. "Who wouldn't love to know more about meat-eating plants?" He glanced at Xavier, who had sat down to rest his bandaged leg. "How's the knee?" "Oh, it only hurts when I move," said Xavier with a doleful grin. "Good one," said Mr. J.R. He coughed slightly, making Levi wince. "Surgery went okay." "Yeah, they said in 3 months I should be fine." "Well, that's good news. The season will be over in 3 months." "There's always next season, right?" Mr. J.R. smiled, but Xavier didn't return his smile. Mr. J.R. turned to the others. "So what's been happening? Anything going on in Hortos?" "Finn and I found a way into the mountain," Ivy said, "through a hot spring underground. Unfortunately, it led to a pool with a leviathan. Collie and Christian almost got caught, but we helped them get out." You went on a mission without us?" said Brianna. "A leviathan like a whale?" said Evan. "That is so cool." "It didn't look like a whale, but it was pretty big." Ivy described the leviathan while the others listened in amazement. "How did a thing like that get into the mountain?" asked Levi. "We think that underground spring must go all the way into Skatos, or maybe Ponyrose dug a tunnel or something. The tunnel might actually be a way to get to the fortress, but with the Leviathans, it's going to be pretty hard to get there, and we didn't find any way to attack up the mountain without being seen. There are these giant birds called bone breakers staking out the sky pods." "Did you see any dragons?" asked Evan. "No," said Ivy, "but that doesn't mean there aren't any. I'm telling you, attacking that fortress is going to be virtually impossible." "Ah, a virtual impossibility. Just the sort of challenge that Ruach loves," said Mr. J.R. with a tired smile. He turned to Xavier. "What do you think, Xavier?" Xavier looked from Mr. J.R. to the other kids. "Me? You don't have any thoughts on how this battle could be won?" "It's not my job to win battles, There was bitterness in Xavier's tone. He glanced at Levi, who looked away. I mean, I haven't been called back like everyone else. I'm done. You sure of that? Mr. J.R. arched an eyebrow. You can't think of any way to attack that fortress? Xavier shifted uncomfortably. He put a hand on his knee, wincing as if it hurt. Not really. What if we sneak into Skatos and capture the Olathron? Said Evan. Then we could use them to take out some of those skypods at least. You're going to capture the Olathron? Said Xavier. How? Do you even know where they are? They've got to be somewhere, said Evan, folding his arms. That would never work, said Levi. And even if it did, you might destroy the whole mountain, and then no one would ever get their swords ever again. I agree. Anyway, we've got to free the frozen warriors first, said Brianna. How are we going to do that? There are so many of them and so few of us. There may be more of you than you think, said Mr. J.R. Maybe there's a way to get up the mountain before Thane is able to counterattack, said Manuel. Like if we had powered skis that would go uphill. That sounds fun, said Evan. Remember, you can't bring anything into a Horatoss, said Xavier, shaking his head, or take anything out that Ruach doesn't give us. And I doubt there are any ski shops in a Horatoss. Well, of course, we would have to build them there, said Manuel. Out of what? Xavier grumbled. Let's face it, there's no way we can take back that mountain. Everyone was quiet, shocked by Xavier's discouraging tone. Let's table this discussion until after we have some cinnamon rolls, said Mr. J.R. He coughed again. Brianna, take these into the kitchen. You kids go with her. I'll be along in a minute. The kids got up and followed Brianna into the kitchen. It took Xavier longer to get up, so he was lagging behind. Hang with me here a moment, Xavier. Xavier sat back down again, staring at his leg, so he didn't have to look at Mr. J.R. in the face. I know what you're feeling, said Mr. J.R. after a moment. But you've got a job to do, Xavier. You can't be sitting around feeling sorry for yourself. That's all I can do, Xavier blurted. I failed, and now I can't play basketball. I can't even walk. I will say it again. You have a job to do. You are a Prince Warrior, whether you are walking or hobbling or sitting or not even able to get up out of the bed. You are always a warrior. Pony roast never stops, so neither do we. Why did Coach Kavanaugh put you in as a point guard? I don't know. Yes, you do. Because you are a natural leader. You know how to get the most of others' abilities, right? I thought so once. Well, that doesn't change just because you can't play. Xavier thought about this. I can't play point guard from the bench. Why not? I just can't. Listen to me, son. Right now, you have to focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. Do you get me? Xavier nodded, mute. I know you think you messed up, and maybe you did, but that doesn't mean the source can't use you anymore. If that were true, there would be no Prince Warriors in the entire world. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, said Xavier, but I still don't know how to win this battle. The battle is already won, said Mr. J.R. in a soft voice. That's right. That's what Rue says. You need to believe it. Xavier looked dubious. I'll work on that. Good. Now help me up. I need to get me one of those cinnamon rolls before they're all gone.